point of every process in every book that we've written is to help you to find the vibration of what you've asked for. So as you talk about it as if it is and can find the feeling place of that, then it has to be. But sometimes you have so much realism going on that when you talk about something that is, that really isn't, then there's an awareness that it isn't, and then a feeling of contradiction that goes on. There are those that say, if I fake it or if I pretend it, even before it is, then it must be. And we say, you can't fake vibration. The vibration is real. And so here's the difference, and you laid it out there so clearly that we can speak it easily. You talk about what you want and why you want it because of the pleasure that the conversation gives you, not because you have an ulterior motive of trying to make something happen. Right. Because when there's an awareness that you're talking about it in order to get it to move from over here to over here, now you've activated where it is in the mix. But when you talk about it for the pleasure of talking about it, for the pleasure of it, not because you're trying to make something happen, now you don't activate the absence of it and the vibration is pure. Did you hear that? Yeah. That is really big, you see. You get to the point where you begin to recognize that everything that comes to you is coming in response to something that you're doing. Do you know that there are diseases that are vibrational matches to fear? And there are diseases that are vibrational matches to frustration. And we got to tell you, you want this one, not this one. Do you know that there are traffic accidents that are vibrational matches to despair and total disempowerment? And there are traffic accidents that are matches to frustration. And there are traffic accidents that are matching anger. And there are the absence of traffic accidents that match appreciation. In other words, everything that comes to you matches where your average vibration is on those subjects. See how it works? Everything that comes to you is evidence of your vibration. These things are always true. What you feel and what you receive are always a vibrational match. So we will never concede that you're as happy as you can be. And we wouldn't say that about ourselves either. There is always more room to become more aligned with that which you have become. You must find a way of becoming a vibrational match to what you've asked for, not to the reason you ask for it. The reason you've asked for it, you're already a match. That's why you're ornery. The reason you're asking for it, you're already a match to what you don't want. That's why you feel the consternation or the struggle or the embarrassment or the overwhelmment. That's why you feel the anger. That's why you feel the resentment or the blame. That's why you feel the depression. In other words, step 1 causes you to ask for something. Step 3 is you got to get in the vortex. You got to get inside the vortex where the answers are, where the alignment is, where the circumstances and events have already been aligned, where the solutions are. You have to be a vibrational match to the answer, not to the problem. You can't set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM. And we don't want to make any of those radio stations angry with us, but one of those frequencies is in the vortex and one of them isn't. Draw your own conclusions. Talk radio outside the vortex. Beautiful music inside. So when you get your mind around this and you realize that you are a being with 2 vibrational vantage points that are in every waking moment playing off of one another, then you can understand why you feel the emotions you do. When you feel joyful, it's because there's no resistance within you. When you feel painful, when you feel ornery, even if you have physical discomfort, that means there's resistance within you. And that resistance is your attention to something that has a lower frequency, that lowers the frequency of your vibration and holds you in, hear this, an unnatural place. It is natural for you to be in the vortex. And the reason that we can say this so unequivocally to you is because this vortex of creation is so much bigger than this vortex of creation that you've got going on. In other words, when you are exploring in your physical form, the whole purpose of this exploration is for the adding to the whole of who you are. So when you explore and you add to, but you don't go, well, let's be clear. You go eventually. Because when you have your croaking experience, the vortex will take you and you will feel the ecstasy of the releasing of all of that resistance. But we just don't think you should have to croak in order to get in the vortex. And that's what this gathering is about. We call this the art of allowing. The art of allowing myself in my physical form to be a vibrational match to the larger part of me. The art of no longer doing that thing I do, beating that drum I beat, beating the drum and keeping active within me the thought and therefore the vibration that is contrasting or contradicting to the vibration of who I really am, which slows down my vibration, which keeps me from the vortex, which gives me the indication of negative emotion. So is it the negative emotion that keeps you out of the vortex? No. The negative emotion is your indication that you're not in the vortex. The negative emotion is your indication of a lower, slower vibration. Lower and slower than who? Than the masters? Than God? Than the good ones? Lower and slower vibration from who? Lower and slower vibration from the larger part of you. You're the one through life who sped your vibration up. And once you have sped your vibration up, you got to keep up with it, because there's no regression. There's no going back. You cannot live life and know this and the larger part of you become it and then say, never mind. You can't do it. You cannot be less than life has caused you to become. And if you attempt it, you will feel the negative emotion that is your indicator that you're doing an unnatural thing. You're holding yourself back from what you have become. Nice to know. You have to have wondered, how do those ideas, how do those desires, how do those hopes and dreams, how do those vibrational realities, how do they get into your real life experience? How do you turn those thoughts to things? How do they become relationships and experiences? How do I get the money in the bank, Abraham? In the bank. I want to get it out of the vortex and into the bank, okay? How do I do that? And the way you do it is through the natural laws of the universe. The way you do it is by not keeping it out of the bank. That's the thing that we want you to understand. You just got to let the door open. You just keep it you stop keeping it out of the bank. Now, how's that? Don't do that anymore. That's not what we're saying. We want to talk about what you are wanting to do. So the way that things move or become from an idea, from a vibrational reality into something that you are realizing, is that you have to tune your frequency to the realization of it. Now, we know you didn't want to hear that, but we needed to tell you that. You are the realizers. That's the best word that Esther can find. That's how manifestations occur. You realize them. You realize them by finding a frequency. And at first, when you find it, it feels weird to you. Maybe it feels a little exciting for a moment. In fact, that's a moment of recognizing the full potential of your desire. You feel exhilarated about it for a moment. But if you don't shoot it in the foot, if you don't wrestle it to the ground and kill it with reality, if you don't but it to death, but what about this? What about this? Just know that when you give your attention to things, momentum ensues. And eventually, you can create a belief that is so strong, that it will become your reality. You can also create a desire that is so strong that it can become your reality. So what's happening to you? What really happens? What makes the difference? Is your belief so strong, or is your desire so strong? How does that play out? And we say, law of attraction gives you the exact balance that you've got going on. You can go a long way in cleaning up those desires. You can go a long way in improving those beliefs. You can go a long way in sifting and sorting your now reality, looking for positive aspects. You can go a long way in looking at what is and finding the things that feel the best. In other words, you have much more discernment. You have much more capability to offer vibration than you've been practicing. And we've written a lot of books with a lot of processes to help you practice. And we are impressed with the application that you've been offering. But today we want to say to you, it's so much easier if when you wake up in the morning, you just say to yourself, I could be wobble-free. I'm wobble-free for now. I'm wobble-free. I don't have to bring into this day the things that were bothering me yesterday. I don't have to do, oh, there it is. I brought it in already. When we first started talking to Esther about this, she didn't make it till breakfast before she was wobbling all over the place. In other words, because you got lots to think about and you've got these practiced thoughts. And we don't want you to be hard on yourself about beliefs that aren't serving you. But we do want you to be aware of what beliefs you have that serve you and what beliefs that don't. Esther will find herself moving through a day, and all of a sudden she'll find herself not feeling so good. Sort of this subtle feeling of discomfort. And she will stop now and say, oh, I just uncovered something that I apparently have been thinking about long enough that it surfaced just now. What was I just thinking about that gave me that funny feeling in my stomach? Because when that happens, that's a little piece of resistance that is showing itself to you. And we're not really encouraging that you sit down right then and try to talk yourself out of it, because you will only add momentum to it. But recognizing it, and then at first opportunity, identifying what it is that you do want relative to that. And then the next day, start out thinking about what you do want. You will really be pleased with how quickly you can shift the vibrational frequency of your habits of thought. You can change your beliefs. Your beliefs are only thoughts that you keep thinking. And you don't have to continue to think unhelpful beliefs. Esther will say, well, that was unpleasant and unnecessary. Unnecessary, unpleasant, and unnecessary. So what we're really saying to you is, it is our powerful desire that you love yourselves as we love you, enough that you are willing to stop torturing yourself with unpleasant thoughts, that you will stop accepting negative emotion as just the way life has to be. You say things like, these are hard times. They are not hard times. You say things like, the economy's bad. The economy is not bad. Economy is an individual thing, and there are those who are thriving. Might as well be you.